Now, I've made over 700 YouTube videos and amassed over 11,000 subscribers. But in the journey of building this YouTube channel, it's fair to say I made a few mistakes. And I'm going to talk about them in this video so that you can avoid them. Not starting sooner. The one biggest regret that I have with my YouTube channel is that, quite simply, I didn't start sooner. I remember spending the best part of 6 months knowing that I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but really trying to find my niche, the ideal title for my first video, the thumbnail that I needed, the ideal equipment. And then one day I got up in the morning and I decided to do a mega haul on Amazon of all of the equipment that I needed to buy, or at least a guess of what I thought I needed. And then once all that got delivered, I downloaded all the software I needed and I made my first video. And all that happened in the course of probably around a week. And in that 1 week, I made far more progress than I did in the 6 months leading up to that point. I also have a fond memory of a gaming streamer that I used to watch when I was younger. His name was Tim the Tapman. You might have heard of him or not, but at the time he was streaming playing Call of Duty, the video game Call of Duty, on Twitch, and he had around 20 to 30 viewers per stream. But one thing I noticed is that he was online every day and just showing up, putting in the work and doing the effort, right? And I kind of left the gaming scene behind for a couple of years. And one day I noticed Tim the Tapman popping up on my Twitter feed. And he's got millions of followers now. He made the decision to take action and do it. And look where he is now. And that could have been me if I made that good decision back along. Not thinking about your title and thumbnail. Now, I would also say another big mistake I made at the start was focusing on making like the main bulk of my video as good as possible, which is not a waste of time, but I would completely neglect the title and the thumbnail of the video. But that's not the way to do it, because you need to convince someone to click on the videos. So much so, Mr. Beast, the single biggest YouTuber on the planet right now, I believe he spends upwards of 20% of his multi-million video budget on thumbnails. Half of the YouTube game, in my mind, is actually just convincing someone to click on your video in the first place. And the other 50% is convincing someone to stay on it. So not thinking about my title and thumbnail was definitely a mistake I made at the start. Now, if you're enjoying the video so far, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave me a like rating and subscribe to the Tom H Coaching channel down below. If you want more personal YouTube coaching from me, reach out to my email below, tomhcoaching@gmail.com. I offer private one-to-one YouTube coaching on a Zoom call basis. If you want to set up a call with me, just hit me up on the email below. All right, I'll get back to the video. Comparing myself to others. So if you didn't know already, I make videos about fantasy football. And at the time that I started, there were 3 or 4 highly established and very competent creators in my space. And when I began, I was instantly comparing myself to them. I hold myself to a high standard, which I don't think is a bad thing. But what I didn't take into account at the time was that these guys were absolute experts at the YouTube game and their particular niche. And they had so much knowledge that was built up over time that, quite simply, I couldn't match. And there was no way around it other than me having to put in the time in order to get to that level. But I was comparing myself to them and getting disheartened that the videos that I would produce were nowhere near the quality that they would. In some cases, I'd imagine some of these guys paid for a professional thumbnail designer to make their thumbnails, paid for an editor to edit their videos. They were pros at their game, whereas I was just starting out sitting in my bedroom with a laptop. And like I said, it disheartened me trying to compare myself to them. And I think what's important to realize on YouTube is that for me, particularly, it took me around 50 videos where I actually thought, wow, this video I've made, I would actually watch this video. So comparing yourself to others in terms of their growth trajectory on YouTube, the bigger content creators in your space, you shouldn't do that. You should use them as a yardstick for, I guess, quality control in terms of the content that you make. But you don't know people's journeys. You don't know if they've had other YouTube channels before where they've gained experience, or any other, domains or pieces of work they've done before where they've learned to speak on camera, for example, or learned editing, thumbnail making. You just don't know. The only person you can compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. Just try to improve on that. Quality versus quantity. I feel like on YouTube, there's a real balance to be found between the quality of your videos and the quantity of videos that you produce. And it can be quite easy to get carried away in both ways. So on the quality side, you can spend hours and hours editing a video, re-recording things, etc., to try and get that 100% perfect video. Or you could go to the other side of things, where you just want to create as much content as possible and you don't really care about the quality of it. And both of these things will lead to limited growth or limited success on YouTube. The quality will let you down because, well, you don't produce that many videos, so ultimately there aren't many opportunities for people to come across your channel and subscribe. And on the quantity side of things, you'll have the content coming out, but people will watch it, not necessarily be engaged with it, certainly not be convinced to press subscribe, and you're kind of in the same boat with each video. I would say I can be a bit of a perfectionist at times, right? And perfectionism can actually be procrastination that's masked itself. So you wanting to perfect something is actually avoiding you just moving on and starting to make the next video. With most of my videos, I like to work to something that I call the 80% rule. I think if something is 80% perfect or 80% finished, sometimes if I'm short of time, I might even lower that standard a little bit to maybe 60, 70%, where I know people might spot some flaws in the video, but ultimately they're willing to look past it because the video still delivers value to them. If the finished product or the product gets to a point where it's 80% complete and you're 80% happy with, it's probably good to upload. And the remaining 20% to get that video to 100% will take so much effort that it's probably more effort than just making the next 80% quality video. Does that make sense? So I would follow, like I said, quality and quantity. The balance for me is making videos that are 80% perfect, not investing in equipment and tools. Now, I would definitely say one of the mistakes I made at the start was not investing more in terms of monetary value in the equipment and tools that I use for my YouTube videos. I can remember I do all of my graphics in Microsoft PowerPoint, right? Which is not the most expensive tool on the market at all. In fact, I think I ended up buying it for about 20 quid for my laptop, and I've got it installed and I'm doing my graphics in PowerPoint now. But during the time that I started my channel, I was so risk averse that I didn't even want to spend 20 quid to download PowerPoint on my personal laptop to do the video graphics, that outside of working hours, I would log into my work laptop, do the graphics on my work laptop, and then email the PowerPoint files to myself on my on my personal laptop. All because I was so just risk averse in investing any sort of finances into my YouTube channel because I just didn't know if it would be a success. But ultimately, all I needed to spend was like 20 quid. I think most people watching this video could probably afford to spend 20 quid on some equipment or a piece of software for their YouTube careers, right? But at the time, well, looking back, it's no doubt in my mind that I should have done that sooner. But at the time, like I said, I was just so risk averse. And now I realise that 20 quid, I've just wasted 20 quid basically by just sending myself the email of the PowerPoint slides every time and just the time it took to do that. So yeah, investing in equipment is kind of, I guess at the start of a YouTube channel is a little bit of a risk. But don't be risk averse around that. If you want to start this YouTube channel, you've got to go all in. And I would invest as much money as possible, as much money as you can afford in getting the equipment and tools, because it will set you up not only for making the best quality videos possible, because you'll have a good camera, a good microphone where you sound good lighting where your face is illuminated clearly, but also if you invest some actual personal finances in the YouTube channel, you're going to be more motivated to make videos, particularly if you genuinely invest as much as you possibly have spare. I mean, you've put all your spare money into this YouTube channel, so it's going to make you more committed and motivated to make it a success. Even if, say, your first video idea or first idea for a niche to go down doesn't work, well, you've still got this equipment, so you can just go again with another niche. You'll probably think of one. And to be honest, you'll probably be motivated to think of one, to change up, to come up with a new idea, because you invested all this money in the equipment and you want to make it work. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. Just a few of the mistakes that I made when I started my YouTube channel that you may or may not be able to relate to. Some of those were a little bit rogue and niche to my specific circumstances at the time. But I think in each of those points, there's something you should be able to take away there. So if you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave me a like rating. If you want private personal coaching services from me, reach out on the email below, tomhcoaching@gmail.com. And if you're new around here and want to see more of this YouTube tips content from me, you can subscribe to the Tom H Coaching channel, which should be just there on your screen. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video.